Hello future professionals, welcome to day 29 of our top 100 coding question analysis. Today we are challenged with the question to find the first n prime numbers. Now that our problem statement is defined, let's have some hands-on experience. Before we start with the logic, let's understand what do they mean by first n prime numbers. First n prime numbers. Right, let's bifurcate this to get deeper clarity. First, we look into what do they mean by first n numbers. Let's suppose we are asked with the question, what are first n natural numbers? What are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, so on till n, right? Let's simplify this by reducing the count. That is, let's find the first 5 natural numbers. What are the first 5 natural numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? Here we can make two observations. What are those? First is the count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 numbers printed, right? The second observation is that each number in the output belongs to natural number, right? Each number in output is a natural number, right? Now let's look at what is prime number. Prime numbers are those numbers which have only two factors that are 1 and itself. If you want to delve deep into what is prime number, please watch our day 26 video where we find whether a given number is prime number, and a slightly advanced version in day 28 where we print the prime factors of a given number, and today is day 29 where we find the first n prime numbers, right? I recommend you watching these two videos first to get the deeper understanding of how we find whether a number is prime number or not. Now that we have understood what do they mean by first n numbers and what are prime numbers, let's look at what is first 5 prime number means. It is nothing but first we start from the least prime number, that is 2, then move on with the consecutive prime numbers, that is 3, 5, 7 and 11, and we satisfy both the observations, that is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, count equal to 5, that is first observation. Second would be each number in the output is a prime number. Now that we have understood the problem using our hands-on experience, let's look at the logic of how our program would derive this output, right? The logic is that first we shall get n from the user, that is the number of prime numbers to be printed, right? Second, we initialize count variable to 0. This count variable is very important because this will keep track of the number of prime numbers that we have found and printed, right? Next, we start checking from the number 2 because we know prime number starts from 2, right? Next, we check if the number is prime number or not, right? Here our control branches into two things, that is, if it is prime, we print the number and increment count by 1 because we have found a prime number and we have also printed it. Now we increment the count by 1, which keeps track of the number of prime numbers found and printed. If the number is not prime, we do nothing. Next, we have to increment number by 1 so that we check for the next number, right? This will be repeated, that is, repeat step 3 and 4, right? Step 3 and 4 until count is equal to n, that is the number of prime numbers that is to be printed, right? Once we finish this, we terminate the program. That is when count is equal to the number of prime numbers that is to be printed, right? Now that we have looked at the logic, let's put it into practice by coding our program. First, let's define a function to get the user's input. I name the function getUserInput. Here, I initialize the variable n to the input that the user gives. Here, we ask the user to enter the number of prime numbers to be printed, right? Next, we shall return n. Now that we have got the number of prime numbers to be printed, let's define a function to print the prime numbers, right? I name the function prime number and pass the parameter as n. Okay, now we check for an edge case where if n is greater than 0, only then we find prime numbers, else we print enter minimum 1 as the input, right? Now if n is greater than 0, we initialize count to 0 and number to 2, right? Next, while count is less than n, right? When count becomes equal to n, we end the program, right? So count must be less than n. Until then, we will find prime numbers. Factor would be factor is equal to 2, because if we start with the factor 1, we know that 1 divides every number, so it is logical to start the factor with 2, right? Now next, let me initialize is prime variable to true. That is, we assume that every number is a prime number until we prove it is not a prime number, right? Next, we'll use a while loop and check whether the number is prime number or not. To know this logic, please refer to date 26 and date 28 of our videos so that you get deeper understanding of how this is performed, right? This is 0.5, right? If we find the number is not prime number, we break the loop and move on to the next number. Next we check if it is a prime number. If it is prime number, then we print the number. Then we increment count by 1, right? Else, if it is not a prime number, we do nothing, right? Next we increment the number by 1 so that we check for the next number, and this will continue until count is less than n. When count is equal to n, we terminate the program, right? So let me bring this up. Now we have defined all our required functions, so it's time we call our functions. Let me initialize the limit variable to the return value of getUserInput function. Next let me call a prime number function and pass limit as the argument. Now let's check for any errors or warning signals. We do not have any errors or warning signals, so let's run the program. The program is asking me to enter the number of prime numbers to be printed. Let me enter 5. I get 5 prime numbers as my output, right? Let me enter 10. I get the first 10 prime numbers. Thus, we have successfully completed our program. I hope you would have got the best out of this video. I recommend you subscribing our channel to get more such interesting videos. I also recommend you to like and share the video if you find it supportive and interesting.